what's poppin'? It is your Tourette's here, and I'm back with another video. Hey my lovelies, what's poppin'? It's the girl Tourette's here, and I'm back with another video. So in today's video, I'm going to be showing you guys how I achieve this natural, soft glam type of beat with drugstore products. Because I know some of us, we can't afford these high-end products. We want to, you know, look cute, but on a budget. So I got you guys. This is very beginner friendly. I'm in no way, shape, or form a makeup artist, a makeup expert, or anything. I'm still learning like several techniques, but this is what I do and it works for me. But I'm still open to learning new techniques and new things that can help me improve my makeup. If you do have any tips and tricks, please leave them in the comments down below. Makeup, you know, there's not one way to do something. So if there's another way that you guys think might help me, then leave them down below. But also be respectful, you know what I'm saying. But if you are new to my channel, please click that subscribe button down below. Click the bell where I add it so you're notified each time I post a new video, because I be posting kind of regular. Follow me on Instagram at Jasmine_HWLL and on Twitter at JasmineHWLL. Also follow my business page, which is my wig page on Instagram, which is Hibiscus Tresses. I make wigs like this. Okay. And without further ado, let's get into this video. So whenever you're starting off your makeup, you want to make sure that you're starting with a fresh, clean base. So I went ahead and I washed my face, cleansed, moisturized, and put my sunscreen on, and then I shaped my brows, which always helps me to fill them in much easier. So I'm going ahead with the E.L.F Instant Lift Brow Pencil in the shade Deep Brown, and I'm just filling in my eyebrows. Now, I don't really have sparse eyebrows. My eyebrows are full and they have a nice enough size. So I really just go ahead and I fill my brows in. Now, when I'm doing this, I'm using light strokes and just filling in the areas that I find need to be darkened, which is basically like the whole thing. However, I do not start from the beginning of my brow. I start a little bit away from the beginning and then I darken everything behind that. Next, I use the spoolie side of the brow pencil and I go ahead and I brush that out. And what this does is to help blend the product out. Now it looks like I'm doing it rough, but I'm actually being very gentle on my brows. I'm not going too rough, it's just because I'm doing it in a fast motion. Once I'm done with that, I go ahead and I really observe my eyebrows, and then I felt like I needed to fill it in a bit more, so I constantly do that. As you guys can see, when you do this, it gives you that gradient effect at the front of your brows. You do not want to have boxy brows, so that's why I do not start filling my brows in directly from the front of the brow. Next, I'm going in with the LA Girl Pro Concealer in the shade Fawn on a concealer brush. This is a flat concealer brush. Want to make sure you get a brush that is flat and like this. Sometimes you can use an angle brush, but I just find a flat concealer brush works the best. And then I shape my brows out. And when you're doing this, as you guys can see, this is in real time. I'm taking my time to do this. You do not want to rush this process, but I really take my time with this step to shape my brows. Now, your brows are supposed to be sisters. Mine always end up as like distant cousins, but even if you don't get it the first couple of times, my eyebrows never look the same every time. But once I get the shape that I want, I go ahead and I blend the concealer downwards into my eyelid with that exact same brush. I'm moving all the excess product away from the underneath of my brow. Next, to blend it all out, I'm using a fluffy brush, a blending brush, and I'm going ahead and blending that product out. Now, you can also use a beauty blender for this. I just feel like a brush works much better for me in this case, and it's much more precise, so I know that I'm not going to mess the shape of my brow up, compared to where a beauty blender is much wider and it's, you know, there's room for you messing up, I feel like, a lot more when you're using a beauty blender instead of a brush. So once that is nice and blended out, I'm going ahead and using the exact same concealer brush and my foundation, and this is the Maybelline FitMe foundation in the shade 355 Coconut, and I'm going ahead and carving the top of my brows. Now, the reason that I don't use the same concealer that I use under my eyebrow is because it's much lighter than my foundation shade. So I just use my foundation because if you use a concealer that's that light and you do not know how to blend, you are going to have halo brows. Your brows gonna look like they just floating on your face, and we don't want that. We want a natural look. We don't want any kind of flashback when you see you take a picture. We don't want people to just laugh you, right? Once I'm satisfied with the shape of my brows, I go ahead and seal those hairs in place using the E.L.F Clear Brow and Lash Mascara. And this is basically a brow gel, so you go ahead and you just brush that through the hairs. Now sometimes your girl gotta call in the backup, the heavy duty stuff. So sometimes I use good old Got2b glue, and I guess this is my ghetto girl makeup hack, but I use some Got2b, spray that on my hand, use a spoolie, and I just brush it through. This will keep your brows in place. They ain't going nowhere. So once my brows are done, I go ahead and prep my face, and I'm using the E.L.F Poreless face primer, and I just rub this primer all over my face. Make sure you're using a primer that works for your skin and it's not just any old primer. Next, I'm going to set my face with the Revlon PhotoReady Candid Anti-Pollution Setting Powder in the shade 2. And the reason that I'm doing this is because certain areas of my face crease a lot and I sweat very quickly. So around my mouth, I have smile lines. And the reason that I said it before is to get that powder in those smile lines so they don't crease as much, right? So I do this around my mouth, I do this on my forehead, and this is great for people who are very oily. I have more drier skin, so I don't do this on my entire face, but if you do have much oilier skin, you can do this across your whole face if you would like to, but I personally do not. You guys saw me go into my crease with a smaller brush simply because I wanted to make sure that those smile lines are fully covered. Next, I go ahead and I take a nice big fluffy brush and I just dust all that powder off. Now you can do this step before doing your brows so you can really set that in place, but I don't got all that time for that, so I just dusted it off after. If you are somebody that's acne prone or just black in general, a lot of the times we have areas of our face that is darker, and for me it's around my mouth and I do have hyperpigmentation. So I'm using the E.L.F Color Correcting Stick in the shade Deep, and it's an orange color correcting stick, and I'm just putting this on all the areas that I have darker spots. Under my eyes, I don't really have under bag circles like that bad, but your girl doesn't get any sleep. So then I'm using my foundation brush. Now this is a dense foundation brush and I spritz it with my NYX Matte Finish Setting Spray, and I just feel like when you spritz your foundation brush with the setting spray, it just helps the product to move so much easier than just a dry brush, honestly. Now you can blend this out with a beauty blender. For me, because the product is so thick, it's so hard to blend out with a beauty blender. For me, it takes forever. Even like blending under my eyes was like the hardest thing probably out of this entire thing, because the product is so thick, and also because I set my face, it just sticks onto that powder in the certain areas that I set. Once you got that done, I'm going back ahead with my eyes, and I'm using the exact same concealer that I used to cover up my brows, which is the LA Girl Pro Concealer in the shade Fawn. Apply some to my eyelids because we're not going to just leave our eyelids, two different colors. And I go ahead, I apply some concealer, and then I blend it out with the exact same brush that I did under my eyebrows. So once that's done, I go ahead and I use the same setting powder that I used to set my face on my eyelids, and what this does is just prevent your lids from creasing. Now if I'm doing a colorful eyeshadow look, I would not set my base because I'm adding shadow and stuff, and you can add shadow in this step. You can add it here, or you can choose to wait until the end like I'm doing. So next, I go ahead and apply our foundation. I like to just put some on the back of my hand and then just apply it to my face using that exact same concealer brush that we used to carve our eyebrows out. Then I go ahead and spray the exact same foundation brush and I blend and just blend. Now I really like this technique of spraying your brush, as I said before, because it just helps to move the product so much easier than like a dry brush or a beauty blender. For me, blending my foundation with a brush is easier for me than with a beauty blender. I just feel like it takes longer for me to blend with a beauty blender, but it just depends on the look that you're going for. I feel like when you use a foundation brush, it gives you a much more full covered type of look as compared to when you use a beauty blender. so that's up to you. Next, I'm going ahead and highlighting with the exact same concealer that we used on our brows and our lids. And I'm a person that doesn't like an extra highlighted type of look. I tend to keep my concealer for my highlight directly under my eye, like directly under my eye, not going past my nose, not going past the tail of my brow. I like to keep it very, very centered because I don't like to bring that product out too much. So if you want a look that's more highlighted, then you can also extend that highlighter out a little bit. And at this point, I thought I was like putting too much. Then I apply some on my chin, apply a line down my nose, and then I apply some on my forehead between my brows. Next, I fan it and let it dry down. When you fan it, let it dry down. It has a fuller coverage and the product doesn't move about as much, so it kind of stays in the place that you put it. I really cannot remember where this beauty blender is from, but this beauty blender has a flat side and then it's pointed at the tip. So I'm going ahead and use that and just blending that out. You guys see when I'm blending it out how the product moves outwards to your eyebrow or to the edges of your face. So you don't have to put the concealer all the way to your eyebrow, but it also depends on what you're going for. This is just how I like it. So if you want a more highlighted look and you want more product under your eyes, go ahead. It is perfectly fine. Then I blend my chin. I'm using the butt of the beauty blender. I do my nose and then I do my forehead. So here you guys see me changing beauty blender, and the reason I do this because this beauty blender is much more porous, I guess you would say, so it absorbs a lot more of the product. This is a cheap beauty blender that I got from like the dollar store. Next, I added a little bit of concealer to my cupid bow and then I blended that out. So now I'm going ahead and contour with the Black Radiance True Complexion Cream Contour Palette in the shade Medium Dark. And I'm using a chiseled type of dense brush for my contour. And I am not a contour queen. I am learning to properly contour. I always feel like when I go with my contour, I put too much. But really and truly, when I watch other people do their contour, I'm like, I don't even put enough. Like, girl, add some more product. Now, if you feel your face, you can feel like your cheekbone. And I put that, I guess, at the bottom of my cheekbone. I'm not too sure the structure. But when I do put that contour, I blend upwards into my highlight instead of blending downwards to your jawline. You blend upwards, closer to your eyes. When you get around the forehead, I blend downward, coming down my forehead. So next for my nose contour, I'm using an angled fluffy brush, and I'm not that great at nose contouring, so I like to just go in very, very lightly. Now make sure when you are contouring your nose, you're doing it based on the shape of your nose, because the way I contour may not apply to the shape of your nose. So I contour, I put 2 lines at the side. I like to blend up and down and blend it up into my brow just a bit. And right here, I realized that I didn't like how that was shaped. So I went ahead and I added a little bit more product to kind of straighten out that highlight that I had going on there. Sometimes I like to blend it out with a beauty blender because I feel like the contour was too harsh, which it really wasn't. So we're going to go ahead and set those highlighted areas. I'm using the exact same Revlon Candid setting powder. I tap some on the cover of the container and then I dip my beauty blender in. Now for me personally, I do not bake. You can bake if you would like to, but for my under eyes, I don't bake. I just like to press the product in. So I really just set the under eye and I don't like bake the under eye. Now baking is not necessary. This is one of the YouTubers that I learned from and certain techniques from, and he's a makeup artist and he said baking not necessary. So for my under eyes, I don't bake because I already do have dry skin. So after that, under my eyes, I immediately just wipe off all that extra powder. Now, when it comes to around my mouth and my smile line areas, I like to go ahead and I set that. So for my smile line, I take a small brush and I kind of smile so I can see where that smile line is. I press the powder in and then I just dab the powder in that area just to make sure that I'm getting that setting powder into the smile line so it doesn't crease as quickly. Also do my nose, and I leave the product to sit around my mouth and my nose longer than I do on my under eye. And then I'm using this brush to kind of dust off that extra powder because I don't want to ruin my contour. And then I do the same on my forehead. So the next step is to bronze your face, and I really actually don't have a bronzer. I just use this Black Radiance Soft Focus finishing powder, and I just go ahead in the areas that I contour my face and I add a little bit of that on my fluffy brush. What a bronzer does, it really just adds that warmth back into your face that could have been taken out from blending and, you know, adding extra product and baking and stuff. It just adds all that warmth back into your face. Now with the exact same powder and a fluffy eyeshadow brush, I just sweep some of that powder into my eyelid just to add a bit of color and warmth on my eyelid. That's why earlier I said you don't really have to focus on the eyes, because this is not really about the eyes, it's about the base. Now I went ahead and also added a little bit of this Wet n Wild bronzer. And then I use this kind of brownish orange type of shade from the Profusion Cosmetic Spectrum palette, and I applied that also on my eyelids. So it just gives it a bit of warmth. It's not perfect. You don't really have to worry about, you know, perfecting a perfect shape. You're just blending and adding some eyeshadow, but make sure you kind of blend it out, you know, good so it doesn't look patchy, but you're not really focusing on the eyes in this look. Next, I go ahead and I apply my lashes. I added some eyeliner. Now, I'm not good at eyeliner at all. I just added a thin line of eyeliner. If you haven't seen my video on how I apply my lashes already, make sure you go check that out because I did a whole video dedicated to this. I also go ahead with that same black liner and I just kind of enhance my beauty marks. Some of them, not all of them. I just feel like it just, you know, adds some flavor to the makeup look. So I applied my lashes and they look hella wonky. That happens sometimes, but now I'm going ahead with a fluffy brush and dusting all the extra powder off. Next, we're gonna go ahead and add our blush. I do not have a blush palette, so what I do, I use the same Spectrum palette and I use the two pink shades, very lightly apply that to the apples of my cheeks, and I like to kind of smile. This is the fakest smile ever, but I like to kind of smile so I can see the apples of my cheeks and know where I'm placing the blush, because sometimes, you know, if you're just not smiling, you don't know if you're applying it directly where you need to. And actually, I was using the incorrect brush. This is the brush I like to use. It's also a fluffy brush, but it's a bit more dense and the bristles are shorter, so it's easier for me to blend that blush out.
Candid.
And then you dust off all the extra powder. I don't know why I didn't do this step earlier when I did it before. Next, we do highlight, and I really love to highlight. So this highlighter is from the same palette that we used to contour, and I'm using a highlighting brush. If you don't have a highlighting brush like this, you can use a clean fluffy brush that you use to blend your eyeshadow. Now when I'm highlighting, I apply the highlight on, like, I don't know, the upper cheekbone. I really don't know face structure, Ollie. I'm so sorry. But I apply it from right there to above my eyebrow in a kind of C shape, and the camera wasn't even picking up the highlight. I wish it was really picking up that highlight. But then I like to add a little highlight on my cupid's bow and then on my nose. And for my nose, sometimes the brush doesn't really blend it out right, so I just use my finger to really smooth that out, because you don't want a sharp highlight on your nose. Like, you don't want it to just be like patchy. So next, I also highlight my brow bone, and I'm using a smaller brush to do that, so it's very, very precise. Next, we're gonna line our waterline. I'm using the Wet n Wild eyeliner pencil in the shade Calling Your Bluff. Then I go ahead and I apply some lower lash mascara, and I also apply some to my natural lashes to blend it with my falsies. And then I pop some highlight into the inner corner of my eyes. We're almost done, y'all. Next step is lips. I'm lining my lips with a plain brown eyeliner pencil. Next, I'm using the L.F Color matte lipstick in the shade Classy on the inside of where I just lined. And this is literally my perfect nude. Like, you guys, when I found these shades, I was like, yes. After I apply that, I take a lighter nude shade. This lipstick doesn't really have a name, but it's a lighter nude pink, and I apply that directly to the middle of my lip right there, so you have that kind of ombre gradient look going on. I like to apply these two lip glosses from Ellen Tracy, and I also don't know the names of these because it came in a set, but the darker one I apply on the outside of my lips, and then the lighter one I apply in the middle where I applied that lighter lipstick color. You can also use just one straight color of lip gloss, you know, a simple clear lip gloss, and apply that to your lips. That also works. Lastly, we're gonna set our entire face, and this is like my favorite part because it just makes your entire makeup look come together. Now, when you set your face, everything just blends. All that powder, everything, it just sets in place and it looks smooth and flawless. I promise y'all. So I apply a good amount of setting spray, and then you just dry it off. Make sure your hand is a good way from your face so you get an even spray. Do not do this. Please do not do this. Do not spray your setting spray this close to your eyes. And I nearly go blind. Like, I don't know what was going on with me, what I was thinking. I wanted to get some setting spray on the powder and I just go crazy. Like, listen. Anyways. This is the final look, you guys. Y'all can't tell me that I ain't look snatched. And I know y'all gonna be looking snatched when you follow this tutorial. Is y'all seeing this? Is y'all seeing this? Alright, you guys, so this is how the look turned out. And you guys saw it in the intro already. But I just wanted to say I really loved how this turned out. Like, this is probably one of my favorite makeup looks. Like, just the way that everything came together. The brows, listen, my brows are never twins, but I like the shape of this brow. It may be a little bit too sharp, I'm not too sure, but I really like it. I just like how my face just looks seamless and really smooth. So always remember, you gotta practice. I did not just wake up one day and was able to do all this. It took me, you know, a lot of practice. Sometimes I just sit and I just practice makeup. When I'm not filming, I just practice and I just, you know, try to do different techniques with, if it comes to eyeshadow or my base. I watch videos of some YouTubers that you guys can watch to kind of better your makeup application. Jackie Aina, Robert Welch, Alyssa Ashley, Arnell Armand, they're both sisters. Who else do I watch? Young Africana. Don't go out here buying a bunch of high-end products and you don't know what to do. You know, stick with your little drugstore. I still use drugstore products because that's what I have access to, that's what I can afford. So you don't have to have the biggest, the highest and mighty type of products to achieve good looks and to look good. Okay. But I hope you guys really enjoyed this video. I hope it was informative. If you do want another type of video, how probably I do like a more beat look with like some more intricate eyeshadow, then let me know. But this one was for my beginners because I had to get y'all in tune. You know, I gotta get all my girls well. Don't forget to click that subscribe button and click the bell below because we are on the way to what? 1K subscribers. So don't forget to hit that bell below, destroy that like button, and don't forget to follow my business page, which is Hibiscus Tresses, to get you, you know, looking snatched with the wigs or whatever. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.